All right, let's dive right in. In this technical tutorial, we're going to tackle something you've probably all seen out in the field, a really common but pretty disruptive type of interference. I'm talking about the jamming of key fobs and other simple remote controls. Okay, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, just a super important heads up. This is part 3 of a big 20-part tutorial, and it's all based on a fantastic report from RFI detectives. Now, everything we're talking about here is for educational and mitigation purposes. The whole point is to help you, as RF technicians, do your job, to identify, locate, and report these illegal jamming signals. And I've got to stress this. Using jammers is illegal just about everywhere, and the penalties can be really, really serious. So here's how we're going to break it down. We've got 3 main parts. First up, we'll look at this threat in the wild, how you'll actually see it happen. Then we're going to figure out why these systems are such an easy target. And finally, the part you've been waiting for, we'll get right into the specific frequencies you absolutely need to have on your checklist. All right, let's kick things off with a scenario. I bet you've come across this, either on a job or maybe just trying to get into your own car. It's one of those problems that feels like a small annoyance at first, but as we'll see, it can point to some pretty serious stuff. So picture this. You're standing there, you're clicking your car's remote or your garage door opener, and crickets. Nothing happens. It's super frustrating, right? And yeah, your first thought is probably, oh, the battery's dead. But what if it's not? What if the real culprit is something a lot more deliberate, like intentional RF interfering? This is what we call key fob jamming, and really, at its core, it's a pretty simple brute force kind of attack. The whole game is just to blast a stronger, malicious signal that completely drowns out the weak, legitimate one from your remote. It just overwhelms the system and makes that little fob in your hand totally useless. So that brings up a good question, right? Why are these devices we use every single day so incredibly easy to jam? Well, it all comes down to how they're built from the ground up. And this quote from the RFI detectors report really hits the nail on the head. It points to this core trade-off in the design. See, the very thing that allows the receiver to pick up your remote signal from across the parking lot, its sensitivity, is also its greatest weakness. It's kind of like it's designed to listen for a whisper, which means there's no way it can ignore someone shouting right next to it. And this comparison here lays it out perfectly. On one hand, you've got what's prioritized, sensitivity. The system has to be able to detect that tiny, weak signal from your fob. But on the other hand, look at what gets sacrificed, robustness. That high sensitivity comes at a price. The system just gets steamrolled by any unwanted noise or a stronger signal, and it has basically zero ability to filter it out. So here's the bottom line. All those things that make these little remotes so convenient for us, the fact that they use very little power, they're short range, those are the exact same things that make them a huge, blinking target. By their very nature, they are just begging to be interfered with. Okay, let's get to the really practical stuff. This is probably the most critical part for you as a technician. When you think jamming is happening, where exactly do you point your spectrum analyzer? What are you looking for? Let's use a real-world example. Say you're working in Europe, and you get a call. The complaint is that a bunch of key fobs have suddenly stopped working in a parking garage. Well, the very first place you should be looking is right here, 433.92 megahertz. That frequency is a massive hotspot for these kinds of devices over there. And this table is basically your cheat sheet. These are the main frequencies you'll see used all over the world for key fobs and remotes. You'll notice North America is often on 315 megahertz. In Europe, we've got that 433.92, but also 868 megahertz for other short-range devices. Knowing which region uses which frequency is absolutely key to tracking down a problem fast. And again, just to be clear, all this data we're going through is pulled directly from that comprehensive report by RFI detectives, so you know it's a solid, reliable foundation you can build your diagnostic work on. When it comes right down to it, your most powerful tool is your knowledge of the spectrum. Seriously, when you're scanning and you suddenly see a weird, continuous signal sitting right on top of one of these known frequencies, well, that's your smoking gun. That's a huge clue that you're not just looking at random noise, you're likely dealing with intentional jamming. So thinking about this naturally leads to a much bigger, and honestly, a more concerning question, doesn't it? I mean, if these low-power key fobs are this simple to jam, what about our cell phones? What about our GPS systems? We've seen how easy it is to knock out these simple systems. But what does that mean for the really critical wireless tech we depend on every single day? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into in the next parts of this series.